Hello and welcome to another edition of Safe Pasture. I am Sherry Hammers, and today we're going to continue talking about the Holy of Holies. And in particular, we're going to continue on the Ark of the Covenant and move into the mercy seat and the cherubim and lots of exciting stuff. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to jump right in. We talked last time about God's detail in the mercy seat. And I wanted to kind of back up just a little bit from that, and we'll get back into the mercy seat. But I wanted to cover a few more scriptures to kind of lay the groundwork of where we're going with this. When God told Moses how he wanted everything built, he also gave instructions on how he wanted everything set up once it was built. So when they were setting up the tabernacle, it says in Exodus 40 verse 3, "And thou shalt put therein the ark of the testimony, and cover the ark with the veil." So at this point, we have the testimony, which last time we talked about. The testimony is the 2 stone tablets, the testimony of the law that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai for the people, for all people. And when you get into a more in-depth study, you realize that this was a covenant. And it was a picture of a marriage covenant of God marrying Israel. So this is the testimony. This is the witness of that covenant being solidified, and with Israel agreeing to this covenant to obey God. Then we get into Exodus 40 verse 20 and 21. And it says, "And he took and put the testimony into the ark, and set the staves on the ark, and put the mercy seat above upon the ark." So we have this ark, we have the stone tablets put inside of it, and then the mercy seat, which is the lid, was put upon the ark. "And he brought the ark into the tabernacle, and set up the veil of the covering," the veil we talked about in previous episodes, "and covered the ark of the testimony, as the Lord commanded Moses." So Moses is putting everything into place, just as God commanded. I was looking, Ellicott had a commentary on this verse 20 that I just read, and he said, "By the testimony we must understand the 2 tables of stone written with the finger of God, which Moses had brought down with him from the top of Sinai on his last visit. On the use of the word testimony in this sense, it is not proved by this passage that the ark held nothing but the testimony." So what Ellicott is saying here is that just because God said put the testimony in the ark, that doesn't mean that that's the only item that was placed into the ark, which we will find out here shortly. So I would like to go back to Exodus 16, 22 through 34, and we're going to talk about what exactly was contained in the ark. It says, "And Moses said, This is the thing which the Lord commandeth. Fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations," talking about the manna, "that they may see the bread wherewith I have fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you forth from the land of Egypt." And Moses said unto Aaron, "Take a pot, and put an omer full of manna therein, and lay it up before the Lord to be kept for your generations. As the Lord commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony to be kept." So in other words, they took a pot and they filled it up, the omer. They filled that up. It was a measuring unit of manna that they had been gathering every day for 40 years except on the Sabbath. And Aaron put the manna in the pot before the testimony inside of the ark. So we have the 2 tables of stone, and I did try to find some commentary on this, but maybe it goes without commentary to say that that was a representation of the marriage covenant or of the law, which is when we are in covenant with God, this is the law that we are committing to keep His commandments. And the pot of manna, if you remember back when I did the teaching on the table of showbread, I think we have another testimony here of Jesus being the bread of heaven. he told the Pharisees were taking him to task, and Jesus said, I am the bread that came down from heaven. And he said, Moses, they said, well, Moses gave us bread from heaven. And Jesus said, well, really, God gave you. He corrected them, and he said, really, God gave you that bread. Moses didn't. And he said, but I am the bread. He was trying to tell them, I am the life sustenance that bread was picturing for you. I mean, that bread helped them in the desert when they had no food. It provided life and sustenance for them. And Jesus was saying that bread was just a picture. It was just a shadow of who I am. I'm the one that came down from heaven. And if any man will, take part in the life that I'm offering, if you'll take part in who I am, then you can have life too. And so I believe that the pot of manna being in the ark, the ark, we talked last time, was a vessel that saved people's lives. And why wouldn't the manna be in the ark, saving, as a picture of God providing the sustenance we need for life? And then we have the Ten Commandments. And while the world looks at the Ten Commandments as, and even some people are teaching in the church that the Ten Commandments are irrelevant, God never said that. God never canceled them out. And the law is a picture of God wanting to redeem people. And he was saying, that he wanted to come into covenant with people through these commandments. Jesus said, if you obey my commandments, if you love me, you'll obey my commands. So I think that the stone tablets, it's showing God is wanting to redeem his people and provide for them, and how greatly he provided not just our physical needs, but he provided Jesus to come and give us the thing that is most important. I mean, it is vital. It is more important than our daily food. He is our sustenance. He is our very life. It says that we live and move and have our being in him. So apart from him, we have nothing. Even if in this world we think we have something, apart from him, we have nothing. We don't have life. Jesus said, apart from me, you can do nothing. So I think there's probably way more than I'm going into right now, the things that I don't even realize. But I think the ark, the contents of it, are so important for us to understand what God has provided for us and what his presence means to us. And that's not all that was in the ark. And I had to do a little bit of digging because I was thinking this would be in Exodus along with everything else. But one more thing was included in that ark, and it was Aaron's rod that had budded. If you remember the story, some of the other leaders in Israel were getting all upset, and they said, Moses, who do you and Aaron think you are? I don't have the scripture here in front of me, but they were basically, it's in number 17, they were basically saying, who do you guys think you are? We're called of God too. We serve God too. And so Moses said, okay, then let me have the staffs, which represented the tribal leaders, and let me have your staffs, and we're going to put them, I think they put, I don't know. I don't remember, honestly. I should have reviewed that. But he said, let's see, we're going to put, I think maybe they put them in the tabernacle. I'm not sure. But he said, let's see who God chooses. And all right, I'm just going to give it up. I'm going to go. I'm going to stop struggling here with trying to tell this story. And I am actually going to go to the Word and look this up. Okay, so it says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and take of every one of them a rod according to the house of their fathers, of all their princes according to the house of their fathers 12 rods. Write thou every man's name upon his rod, and thou shalt write Aaron's name upon the rod of Levi, for one rod shall be for the head of the house of their fathers. And thou shalt lay them up in the tabernacle of the congregation before the testimony, where I will meet with you. Okay, so they put it in the tabernacle of the congregation before the testimony, where I will meet with you. All right, so in the congregation before the testimony, so we're looking at the 10 Commandments here. And it shall come to pass that the man's rod, whom I shall choose, shall blossom, and I will make to cease from me the murmurings of the children of Israel, whereby they murmur against you. And Moses spake unto the children of Israel, and every one of their princes gave him a rod apiece, for each prince one, according to their fathers' houses, even 12 rods. And the rod of Aaron was among their rods. And Moses laid up the rods before the Lord in the tabernacle of witness. And it came to pass that on the morrow Moses went into the tabernacle of witness, and behold, the rod of Aaron for the house of Levi was budded, and brought forth buds, and bloomed blossoms, and yielded almonds. And Moses brought out all the rods from before the Lord unto all the children of Israel, and they looked, and every man his rod, took every man his rod. And the Lord said unto Moses, Bring Aaron's rod again before the testimony, to be kept for a token against the rebels. And thou shalt quite take away their murmurings from me, that they die not. And Moses did as the Lord commanded him, so did he. And, I think about this, it's like they were all complaining that God had chosen Aaron to be the high priest. And so there was all this jealousy and strife and bickering. And God said, all right, we're going to settle this. And so not only did God make it plain that it was Aaron, he went above and beyond. Like the rod budded, and then it bloomed, and then it blossomed into almonds. God made it abundantly clear that he was the one that gets to choose who leads his people. And he said, Moses, take this rod and put it into the testimony. And put it before the testimony. And he said, keep it as a token against these rebels. God was about to, he's like, they're pushing me, and I want to shut them up. I want to stop their murmurings before they push me to the point that I need to take them out. I need that they'll die. And it's really a lack of respect for who God is and his sovereignty and his leadership. So the rod was in there. So we talked about, we have the 2 tables of stone. God, these are his commandments. This is his covenant. We have the pot of manna. God showing how he's cared for his people. And then I believe that the rod of Aaron, that budded, I think that was just God underscored who is in charge. That God gets to choose who's in leadership. God gets to choose what each man's purpose is. And that's not up to God's not up for a consensus, and it's not put to a vote. God's like, this is the way I want it, and this is the way it's going to be done. And this was a reminder to the people who's in charge. Anyway, well, we got into the contents of the ark, and we are now out of time, but please join me next time, and we will delve even more deeply into the Holy of Holies. Thank you so much. Please leave me a comment, and thanks again for tuning in.